My name is Jessie, and I am one of the educators here at Bywater Solutions. In today's upgrade webinar session, we are going to be going over a preview of some of the enhancements that you will see in the 1705 upgrade. The first thing I'd like to talk about is our upgrade schedule. So the 1705 upgrades will begin on November 2nd and continue throughout the month. Okay, so we'll begin those again on November 2nd and continue them throughout the month. All of our upgrades will start after 8 p.m. your local time. So 8 p.m. Eastern or 8 p.m. Central or 8 p.m. Mountain or 8 p.m. Pacific. We will also populate a message on your staff client with the upgrade date 1 week prior to your upgrade. So for those of you who are familiar with upgrades in the past, when you're in the staff client over here on the left-hand side, you're going to see a little note that lets you know when your upgrade will be. So that'll be a week prior, so keep an eye out for that note. This is just a friendly reminder. Once you have upgraded your system, please make sure to clear your browser's cache. This is one thing that we usually get a few questions about after the upgrade. So just please double check after that upgrade takes place. Make sure you go through and clear the cache for your browser. Okay, so let's jump right into our 1705 upgrade notes. If you come to the Bywater Solutions website and you scroll down to the Koha upgrade notes under Koha Education, we will have a comprehensive breakdown of the 1705 upgrade notes. I'm going to take this link and paste it into the chat box for those of you who are following along. This has a list of all of our important links. This will take you out to the Koha community website that has the release, including all of the new features, enhancements, critical bug fixes, new system preferences, and all of the release manager information, quality assurance information, and updates. There's also a link to the new manual. And for those of you who use the manual, you will notice that there is a new look and feel. This is the 1705 manual, and I'm going to paste that in the chat box as well. The new 1705 manual, you'll notice, has a search box over here on the left-hand side. That allows you to come in and do a search for a specific topic. It will go through each one of the pages and it will look for a match. So here you'll notice it shows us anytime I search for renewal, it'll bring us a hit for that particular section, and then I can click on that and that'll take me directly into that section. It will still give me the same instructions, how I can get there, and a list with step-by-step instructions, including screenshots. You'll notice over here on the left-hand side, you still have your table of contents, so you can still move through the manual and select what you're looking for. Along with the 1705 upgrade notes on our website, you will also see any blog posts or videos that pertain to 1705. So we've gotten an early start. There are several videos and blog posts with step-by-step instructions that walk you through some of the larger enhancements. For example, there is a new one that allows us to sort patron reading history. If I click on that, that'll take me right into the blog post where I will have a short video that you can watch to walk you through it, and it will also take you to a link to other videos within 1705. Each one of these webinars that we are going through over the next 3 weeks will be recorded. And if you notice, there's a section right here for recorded webinar sessions. So after today's session, we will be editing this and getting it up on the website. So you can go back and watch our 1-hour overview webinar. Then as you scroll through, you'll notice that we have a breakdown of all of the new enhancements and features broken down by module. Each one will include a link that takes you out to that particular bug or enhancement that lists the complete test plan and walk you through exactly what changed in that particular setting. So if you're interested, you can take a look at that direct link in Bugzilla. Now, if we scroll all the way down to the bottom, we will also have our information that includes developments added by any Bywater partners, as well as our new system preferences. Again, you can access those upgrade notes by going to Koha Education, clicking on Upgrade Notes, and then selecting 1705. The next thing I'd like to talk about is our upgrade webinar schedule. Now, today's session will last about an hour. We are going to go through some of the newer enhancements, just a general overview of some of the new ones, not every single one in there. But over the next 2 weeks, we will be offering 1-hour sessions where we break down particular sections of Koha. So we'll be doing 2 sessions for each one of these upgrade webinars. The first will be the OPAC and public user services. This will include anything on the OPAC, anything that your users will notice changes to. Those will take place on October 23rd and November 1st. Both of those registration links can be found here. And I'm also going to share that particular link with you in the chat box. The next will be circulation and patrons. Those will be on the 24th and the 2nd. Followed by our technical services upgrade webinars. Those will be on October 25th and 31st. Then a breakdown of our administration and reports upgrade webinars. Those will take place on the 26th and the 30th. If you haven't registered for those, please use the link that we've placed in the chat box and registered for those webinars. Those webinars will include a 30-minute overview of all the enhancements in detail, followed by Q&A. So there'll be time to talk with your educators and ask questions. After our upgrades have taken place and our webinars have gone through a full cycle, we will be scheduling town hall sessions at the end of November and mid-December so we can all talk about some of the new features, things that you're seeing once you've been upgraded, and it'll be an open forum for you to ask any type of questions that you want. So stay tuned, and after the upgrades, we'll be announcing those dates. Okay, so now that we've gone through and talked about our schedule and our upgrades, let's jump right into some of the enhancements that you'll see. We're going to come over and we're going to start right on the OPAC. So let's take a look at a few of the enhancements that you're going to see. The first one includes new patron notes that our patrons can add while logged in to the OPAC. So I'm going to come up top. I've already logged in. I'm going to come into my account summary page. And from here, you'll notice that we now have a column on our checked out page that gives us a note feature. This note feature gives the patron an option to write notes about an item, such as this DVD is scratched, or there's highlighting in the book, or maybe there is black permanent marker scratched out throughout the book. This gives them the opportunity to write a little note in there. Now, this is controlled by a system preference. So we have a new system preference, and I'm going to jump right over here to our global system preferences, and we'll take a look at that first. This is called Allow Checkout Note. This new system preference lets you set allow or don't allow patrons to submit notes about checked out items. So now let's take a look at how the feature works. The patron can come in and write a little note. So for this one, I'm going to say there is some highlighting on page 42. Once I submit that note, that is going to notify the librarian. This note will be emailed directly to the librarian, whatever's in your admin email address. It will also be displayed on check-in. So now when the individual comes to check an item in, drops it back off, when we come over here and check that item in, we'll get a little note about what that particular item has. So I'm going to come over here and we're going to grab the barcode for this one so we can take a look at our note. So of course I'm getting my hold since I have a hold placed on this one. But if you notice up top, we also get the patron note. And that will show us when the patron made it, and you can see that we have the highlighting on page 42. Now there's one other enhancement that you'll notice about the OPAC note. In the patron's notices, you will also see a little notice that gets emailed to the individual. Okay, so this email is going to go only to the staff member. So here you can see the patron issue note. Jessica Zaro has added a note to item. And again, that will be emailed directly to the librarian's email address that has checked it out. One more tie into this would be in tools. You can modify the notice that goes out. So if we come into our notices and slips, you will notice that we have a new notice called Patron Note, and that is the note that will be emailed to the library that to the librarian that the item was checked out from. Okay, let's take a look at another one of our OPAC enhancements. This next one is for our patrons who keep our reading history, or for those of you who have the preference for reading history set to forever. So for your users who can see their reading history, over here on the left-hand side, if we select your reading history, this will take us into a list of all of the items that we have checked out in the past. You'll notice up top now, we have an option that lets us order by author. So this is really exciting. Now our users can select order by author, and this will allow them to go through their list and take a look and see what individual items they've read by the same author. This is great if you like Jodi Picoult and maybe you've already read 10 or 12 of her items and you want to see which ones those are. Now you can look at them in author alphabetic order. Okay, let's jump right over to our staff client. The first one we're going to take a look at is in our item search feature. So how many people out there use the batch item modification tool to either change the location if they're putting something on display or they're moving something around? Yeah? All right, I see people love it, right?
Yes.
So yeah, exciting. So right now we have to go into our reports and we have to either run a report to pull a list of barcodes so we can make a change to the system. Well, guess what? There is a new enhancement in the item search which allows you to grab barcodes directly from the item search. So I can come over here and I can look for a specific location or home library or perhaps shelving location. And then I can come in and actually do a barcode export right from that search. So let's say I wanted to take a look at everything that was labeled Vermont books, and I wanted to grab all of those barcodes. So I'm going to select shelving location, Vermont books, and I am going to scroll down to the bottom. And now you'll notice there is a third radio button, and that is called Barcodes File. So once I select that and I hit search, that is going to automatically download that barcodes file in a TXT file. And I have those barcodes right in there. How exciting is that, right? So now when I come over to my tools module and I come over to do a batch item modification, I can come over here, right, to choose a file. I can select the file that I'm looking for, upload that file, hit continue, and that will take me right in to modify those items. So this is one that quite a few of us were really excited about. We don't have to go into reports anymore. This will take us right in there, and we can export that barcodes file right from the item search screen. So pretty excited about that one. Okay, now since we're in the staff client, let's talk about 1705. 1705 has a lot of user interface enhancements. You'll notice it across the board. When we get into our specialty webinars, especially with acquisitions and cataloging, you're going to notice some standardization, sidebars, links that weren't there before. One that almost every single person here was excited about was the circulation module. So now when we go into circulation, you'll notice over here on the left-hand side, we don't have a sidebar. In previous releases, if we'd click on transfer, this would take us right into our transfer option, but there would be no sidebar here on the left-hand side. Now, drum roll, we have a new system preference that allows us to add the circ sidebar. So what this does is this allows us to either activate or deactivate the navigation sidebar on the left-hand side. So this is great. So for those of you who like to easily navigate between each one of them, this allows you to jump back and forth. So now instead of going back to that circulation screen, I can come over here, select an option, and then that will take me right back to my sidebar. So this is just a really nice feature. Again, you'll see a lot of these user interface features across the board in 1705, just making it a lot easier for our staff members to get back and forth. Okay, let's talk about another circulation system preference. I'm going to come back over to our system preferences, and this one has to do with our max pickup delay. There is a new system preference that allows us to take into consideration when a holiday affects an expiration date. So there is a new system preference that is called exclude holidays from max pickup delay. And you'll see that right up top here, exclude holidays from max pickup delay. This either allows us or don't allows us to have closed days be taken into account in the reserves max pickup delay. So if you're using the reserves max pickup delay, your default is usually 7. Some people change it to 5 or 4 or 3. This allows you to take into consideration if holidays are affected. Now, one thing to remember, you have to have your holidays listed in your tools. So in our tools and under calendar, remember you'll have to have those particular holidays set up. So for example, November, we have Thanksgiving. So if you're closed on, let's say, Thursday and Friday, you'll have to have those holidays set in your calendar in order for this system preference to recognize and have those holidays be taken into consideration. So this is a nice one. I know quite a few people have asked about this one over the last few years. So this is great. Okay, this is another one. I mean, we get super excited about these things, and I hope you guys do too. This is a great one again for our patrons. So what I'm going to do is now we're going to come over to circulation. I'm going to pull up an account. And this is the option to now turn on a feature that will alert staff that a borrower has previously checked out a title. So, for example, if I come in to the library and I come to check out an item, I will now get an alert that the patron has previously checked out this title. It will show me the name of that title, and it will ask me if I want to check it out anyway. I have been out at trainings several times when people will come up and say, you know, I may have read it a year or two ago and they don't remember. This will now give them a little notification. Now remember, there's a few things to take into consideration. If you retain the patron's reading history, this will work. There's also a new system preference, and let's take a look at that. So we're going to head back over to administration. And that new system preference is called check previous checkout. And so what this will allow you to do is you have a couple options here. So this will, if you have it set to do, you can check the borrower's checkout history to see if the current item has been checked out before. Now you also have another option, and that's don't. So if it's set to don't, you won't get that little pop-up alerting you if the patron has checked it out. Now you'll notice there's two more below that. Unless overridden, do not, or unless overridden, do. So this would be the case where, let's say I have my no issue set to $5 and I have a $10 fine. That's where you would choose the options for unless overridden. So those would take into consideration things like that. Or if you use the guarantor fines and collective fines and things like that. So this is a great option if you do retain your patron's history, that when they do come to check an item out and they have checked it out in the past, you will get this great little pop-up that lets you confirm if the patron has checked it out before. Okay, so now that we've talked about some of our circulation enhancements, let's take a look at some of our holds enhancements. So the first one is actually a paid development from Arcadia Public Library. And what this does is I'm going to do just a basic search for dance in the catalog. And what this does is this actually adds a number in the staff client on the brief results page that alerts your staff to how many holds an item has. So if you notice right here at the top, we take a look, we can see dance here. It shows us that dance has 2 holds. So in this enhancement, you'll notice that there's a number 2 right there next to holds, and right below we have another one, and that shows us that we have holds with a number 1. So this enhancement is really nice. You know, even if your reference or your users are looking something up on the staff client side and they come across this, they'll be right away alerted on the brief results page of how many holds an item has. Okay, let's talk about one more big holds request feature. Now, just a quick show of hands, how many people use the hold fee system preference, which allows you to place a charge for your patrons if they are placing a hold on an item.
Not a lot of hands there.
Not a lot of hands, yeah. Okay, well, this may change your mind. So first, let's take a look. We're going to go into administration, and we're going to come down to patron categories. In your patron categories, you'll notice that we have an option that is called hold fee. So I'm going to come down here to staff, and I'm going to select edit. What this does is you'll notice in each one of your patron categories, you have an option that is called hold fee, and that's $1. So currently, this is in any release prior to 1705. Koha charges all your patrons in a particular patron category that has a fee. It charges them in any instance, so when they place that hold. This is immediately applied at the point of request. So right now in 1611, 1605, if I had $1 associated with my patron category fee and I placed a hold, I'd have a $1 fee attributed to my account. With this enhancement, some of our users thought it would be useful to let patrons make requests without automatically incurring that charge, right? Because, maybe they never pick that hold up, or maybe they're like, oh, darn it, I already read that. I really don't need that to place it on hold anymore. And what this does is this allows you to control that. So what we're going to do is we're going to come back up here to our system preferences, and we're going to talk about that third option. So if we come over here, and I'm just going to do a quick search for hold fee, that's going to take us into our hold fee mode system preference. What this does is this adds a third option. So that third option is anytime a hold is collected. So prior to this, you had the option to say anytime a hold is placed, or only if all items are checked out and the record has at least one hold already. So now you have a third option, and that's anytime a hold is collected. Okay, so now this would only be added to their account when they came into the library, they came to pick up their hold, and then they checked it out. Then they would have that $1 or whatever the fee is attributed. So for those of you that are using that feature, you'll be able to do that. Now, this ties in to each one of your categories. So it's attributed to each one of your patron categories, not by item type, just by patron category. Now, for those of you that do decide to use this enhancement, or if you are using the enhancement already and you change your system preference, keep in mind that this will only affect new patrons created in the system. So if you need to make a change to patron categories, for those of you who may already be using this system preference, please submit a ticket and we can retroactively change patrons in that category. Okay, so anyone who's already using the system preference and you want to change it, just please submit a ticket and then we can retroactively change it for you. Okay, we talked about some of our holds. Now I'm going to jump into our lists. This is a big one. I can say that I've had quite a few people ask about this in tickets before, and I was excited when I saw this was on the 1705 list. So this feature in your lists allows you now to batch add barcodes to a list. How exciting, right? Before you can only add one barcode at a time. Now you can add multiple barcodes. So let's go through an example. So I'm going to come over here to my public lists, and I'm going to create a new list for, let's call this seasonal audiobooks. So I'm going to come down here. I'm going to sort this. this list by title. I'm going to make this a public list, and I'm going to set these to allow. So now what you'll notice is once this is created, look how big that beautiful box is over there on the left-hand side. Prior to this, it was kind of little where you knew you could only scan in or add one barcode at a time. Now I can actually add as many as I want. I can come over here, grab those barcodes. In fact, you can even use that fantastic new feature for search items to export those barcodes and then bring those barcodes right in here to the list. I'm going to come over here and select add. And now I have just added all of those items to the list. So this is fantastic. For those of you who are using the list feature, now you can do multiple barcodes at a time. So this will be quite a time saver. I know we have quite a few libraries that put the New York Times bestsellers up every Monday. So this will be a nice way to, add those in bulk instead of doing them one by one. All right. So we've talked about lists. Let's jump into our notices. So we're going to come over here to the Tools module, and we're going to talk a little bit about some of our notices first. Now, the first one is going to be our overdue notices. There is a new, I'm going to call this a fix, where overdue notices in the past, when a patron had overdue items from different branches. So now this is talking to libraries that have multiple branches in their system, and those multiple branches each have their own overdue notice. So most of you probably have your all libraries Odoo, Odoo 2, Odoo 3, or Odoo bill. Some of you that have multiple branches may have specific overdue notices for your branches. Perhaps they're using different language, or there's different rules for overdues. In the past, when a patron had overdue items from different branches, for example, let's say I am from the East Branch. I have an East Branch item that is overdue, but I also have an item from the West Branch that is overdue. I would receive two notices, one from the East Branch and one from the West Branch. However, each one of those notices would include both of those items. So both of the items, one item from East, one item from West on both of those notices. What this does is this notice actually addresses that issue. So now when I receive an overdue notice from a particular branch, it will only include the item from that branch. It won't include both. So this should clear up any type of confusion for your patrons. So instead of getting all of the items that are overdue, the overdue notice will just show the item that is from that branch. And for those of you who are interested, that is bug 17470, and I'm going to put that one in the chat box for those of you who may be interested. Okay. The other big one for notices is the option to resend notices that have failed. So I'm going to come over here to my account, and we're going to take a look at our notices tab. So our notices tab over here on the left-hand side will take us in and give us a preview of any notices that have been sent, failed, or are pending. For those of you who were on earlier, there's my patron issue note. But you'll notice here now that I have a few that have failed. So if I come over here to hold placed on item, one that has failed, you'll notice that there is now a resend button under that status. So what this allows you to do is resend the email to that patron. Maybe you noticed over here that the email address was typed in incorrectly. Instead of .com, maybe it was .con instead of .com. and you fix that. This allows you to come over here, and now I can hit that resend button, and then that will change it into the pending and then sent status. So again, all you have to do is when you notice that an item has failed, select that notice and then come over to the status column, and you will notice a resend button. The resend button will only show if the status is failed. If the status is pending or sent, you will not see that resend button. You'll only see the resend button if the status is failed. Okay, one more pretty big enhancement for your notices. How many of you use the language packs feature for your OPAC and or staff client? Just a quick show of hands. Maybe you have Spanish turned on or, all right, excellent, excellent. Okay, so this ties in. This new enhancement gives availability to translate your notices. Yes. Woo! It's now possible to translate notice templates into different languages. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to jump into administration. We're going to go into our system preferences, and now we can come over here and we're going to take a look at our system preferences for this. So we're going to come down to our language. The first is going to be if we have any language packs installed. For those of you who may not have any installed on the system, we can, if you submit a ticket, we can install that for you. You'll notice that we have English and Spanish turned on here for ours. So this will show us both of those are selected. So the next thing we're going to take a look at is our actual notices. So now I'm going to come over and we are going to take a look at our tools and then notices. Now I'm going to come over here and we're going to select one of our overdue notices here. I'm going to select overdue billing. Now you'll notice that now I have two more tabs. So I have my default tab, and that includes anything that may have been in my system. But now you'll notice that I also have English and Spanish. This allows me to come in and translate my notice. Now, Koha will not translate it for you. You'll have to have a staff member either write it, or you can use Google Translate or another option to come in and use that. So what this allows you to do is you're still going to use the same message body. So you'll notice that we did not translate borrower's first name, borrower's surname. This allows you to translate the language. Again, Koha does not do the translation for you, but it will allow you to place in that translated message. So I've come in and added some translation for Spanish, and you can come in and you can do that for each one of your notices. So again, Koha is not going to do the translation for you. However, if I come into any one of these, so let's say I come into my item due reminder, this will actually show me tabs for any language pack that I have installed. And then I can come in here. You'll notice that this one is blank. I can come in here and enter that information for the user. Now, there's one more step that comes into this. I'm going to come back up to my account information. You're now going to notice when you're creating a patron or editing a patron, you have a new option If we scroll down to our library management, there is a new drop-down menu that says preferred language for notices. Default, which would be default, notice that's in there, English or Spanish. And again, this would be whatever language pack is installed on your system. For those of you who are not using a language pack and you would like to have a language added, please just submit a ticket and we'll be able to set that up for you. But this is a great feature now that allows you to set a preferred language for your user, and then also the ability to translate notices into a different language for your users. Okay, so just a great feature there for communication with your users. All right, let's jump into acquisitions. In acquisitions, you now have a new system preference. This enhancement, which will grab item information from order files, will make it so item data can now be at the record level, which has been an option in Koha, or the item level. So the first thing I want to take a look at is going to be administration. I'm going to come over to administration and we're going to come right into acquisitions. Over here, you'll notice that we have mark fields to order. That has always been in Koha for the last several releases, and this would have information that you could use in the past, perhaps price, quantity, or budget code. Now, there is a new system preference that's entitled Mark Item Fields to Order. So if I click to edit, this allows me to actually use the following fields. I can use branch code, holding branch, home branch, my item type, any public or non-public note, shelving location, collection code, not for loan status. I can use my price, replacement price, or item call number. We have used all of our 975 fields to set these up. So you can see for home branch, we have our 975 subfield A, my home branch 975 subfield B, and so on. Now, for those of you who are using a vendor to either download your order records, perhaps Baker & Taylor or Ingram or Brodart, Midwest Tapes. There's a second step that comes into play here. I'm going to show you Baker & Taylor for an example. In Baker & Taylor, you have your grid tag rules. What this allows you to do is you can come in and select your 975 fields to create those item records. So what this will do is you can apply these grid rules when you're downloading your order records. What that will do is that will add in those 975 fields. So when you bring those order records into Koha using the stage mark records to import, you will have those 975 fields in there, which will look at the system preference, mark item fields to order, and your item records will be created in the system. We do have a video that walks you through this entire process, and I am going to paste that right into the chat box. That goes through the process. On that blog post, there is also step-by-step instructions that walk you through setting that up. So just a few things. This is a great feature. So you can order things at the item level. For example, if you are a multi-branch system and you are buying one copy for one branch, 2 copies for another, this allows you to set that information up at the point of order by setting that up through either Baker & Taylor or Ingram or Midwest Tapes. So this allows you to set that information up. Okay, we're almost through. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up to the top, and now we're going to go into our reports feature. Let's take a look at reports. Here in reports, we're going to have a few new things. The first thing we're going to look at is our saved reports page. And there is a new system preference. You'll notice here that we have an option that says show 20 entries. So if I select that drop-down menu, I could come over here and say, show me 50 or show me 100. Well, now there is a new system preference. So let's take a look at that. I'm going to come back over to my system preference, and we're going to come over. It is called Num Saved Reports. This actually allows you to now select a number. So if you have quite a few reports in there, I'm going to say by default, show 100 reports on the saved reports page. So now I'm going to do just a quick refresh. And you'll notice now it is showing all. I have a total of 46, and you'll notice now that my drop-down shows 100 entries. Okay, one more change that you're going to notice in reports. There is a new column that is called Update. In this column, it will identify any reports that have broken due to a change in tables moving. Bug 17196 moved the column Mark XML out of the Biblio items table and into its own separate table. When that happened, that caused some of the SQL reports that used Mark XML, or I should say the Biblio items, to break. So you can see here my report 132, materials based on Biblio item type. I will now have a message in this column that tells me that this report seems to be obsolete. So the Koha community has taken a step to identify the change and identify which reports were using the Biblio items field and identify that. You'll notice that there is a button here that lets me update the SQL. This will populate a preview that shows me my existing SQL with an updated version. So if I come down to the bottom, this will actually update that particular report for me. Now, in some cases, this may not work for each one of the reports in here. The staff here at Bywater has taken proactive steps to actually look at all of our partners and identify which libraries have reports in their system that are using the Biblio items that will break. What we're going to do is we will be creating a blog post with step-by-step instructions for those of you who would like to update your own SQL. And then we will also be sending out an email to let others know if they notice a report needs to be fixed, and after selecting Update SQL, the report does not get fixed, to please submit a ticket and we will fix that for you. And we just want you to know that we have taken proactive steps to make sure that we get that fixed for you as quickly as possible. So please keep an eye out. We'll be sending an email out on the partner list once the blog post is up, so we can help identify some of those reports in your system. Okay, so one more before we wrap things up, and I'm going to come back over to our Koha main screen, and we're going to go back into our tools feature. One last feature that I'd like to talk about, that is a new feature, and that is called Patron Clubs. And you'll notice that right here under Patrons and Circulations. This feature adds the ability to create clubs which patrons may be enrolled in. It's useful for, tracking, let's say, summer reading programs or book clubs, knitting clubs, whatever it may be. Now, Kyle Hall, who's one of our developers here, actually wrote the Patron Clubs feature, and this is a building block for Patron Clubs. Right now, the current functionality just allows you to track enrollment. It doesn't keep an ongoing list of like who attended each one of the book clubs. It's essentially just for enrollment. And what this allows you to do is basically see patrons that are enrolled. And that's just all it does right now. It will let them, you can see their enrollment and who has signed up. Again, it doesn't track things like how many sessions they've attended. There's no type of notification that actually goes out to the patron letting them know that they have been enrolled. It's just essentially a way to track numbers in the system. Now, this is a great first step. For those of you who are interested in testing out the feature, we have a video on the website that walks you through setting the feature up and then enabling it so your patrons can enroll. Again, this is a building block to make Patron Clubs a more robust feature. So we'd love for you to, for those of you who are, interested and want to see it or just play with it, please take a look at it and, kind of go through and see if this would work for you. It essentially lets you create a template that will be used for each one of your clubs. Once you have that template created, it allows you to use that template to essentially create those clubs. Once you create the clubs in the system, again, you are simply just tracking enrollment. So you can keep track of how many people have enrolled for this particular club. Okay, we have made it right to the end of our preview for the 1705 upgrade. We've walked through some of the bigger enhancements or changes that you're going to see in 1705. Starting next Monday, we will go right into our specific module sessions where we'll focus on more of the upgrades and enhancements that you'll see in each one of those. So again, I'm going to throw that URL into the chat box. Please make sure to register for those. If you have any questions, please let us know. Kelly, thank you for monitoring chat. If anyone has any other questions, please let us know. Thank you. Thank you. We're really looking forward to some of these. There's a lot of fantastic user enhancements that I think staff are really going to love.
There was a lot of excitement, Jesse, on a couple of these, so that's exciting.
Thanks, Heather. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Micah. Thank you, Laurel. Yes, max pickup delay is awesome. Yeah. That's a great one. Thank you, everyone. We look forward to seeing you all in the next 2 weeks at some of those specific ones. Oh, thank you, Tanya. Thank you, everyone.
Great job, Jesse, as always.
Thank you, Kelly. Thanks for monitoring all those questions.
You're welcome.
Okay, thanks, everyone. This will be recorded, and then we'll have it up on our website within the next few days. Have a great rest of the day, everyone.